Much for coming. So as you know, we're on film today. I'm really excited about today. So for those of you who know, we've been going through Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Some of you have been here, some of you have not. It doesn't matter because the content, it's not like consecutive, like if you miss the beginning, you don't get the what's going on. Where we were at last month was we started chapter 2 and we laid out what were called the 5 kleshas, which are the 5 causes of suffering. So this does build on those a bit, but it takes us in a different direction. And this is one of my more exciting things to try and get across. And I think Patanjali is brilliant. And I use this technique all the time. I call it something different than, well, Patanjali doesn't actually have a name for it. But we're going to get into it and talk about it and do it. So here we go. For those of us who are following, we're on chapter 2 and just completed 2.9, which was Abhinivesha, the last of the 5 kleshas. So it says, when these primal causes of suffering, okay, so I tried to figure out like how I wanted to do this. Here's what I want to do. The next 1, 2, 3 sutras, I'm going to read them just straight. Okay, it's a lot. You're going to go like, what was that? What was that? What was that? And then I'm going to go back and we're going to break down every sentence of it. Okay, so it says, when these primal causes of suffering exist in a subtle yet potential form, they are to be reduced, then destroyed by the process of involution, returning them to their source, the true self. So believe it or not, that was one sutra. Their variations are reduced or overcome through meditation. And then the next sutra, the reservoir of subliminal impressions is the root cause of primal causes of suffering and produces obstacles and experiences both in the present and in unforeseeable future lives. Okay, so that's a mouthful. Okay, so we're going to break it apart because this is actually really 2 things. It's the process of how to get clear. You know how everybody, the big thing now is manifestation, like I'm into manifestation or I'm into the law of attraction. I mean, this is exactly how it works. And what he's saying is that we have this subliminal reservoir of impressions. They're called our samskaras, okay? And they sit back here. And the way I would describe this reservoir of subliminal impressions is this. Anytime in this life, so we'll just start dealing with this life, and I'm going to add, because he says, or others. So anytime in this life or others, we're going along in the present moment, in the present moment, and then all of a sudden, ouch, wouldn't want to do that again. Ooh, wouldn't want to feel that again. Ouch, really didn't like that present moment. So the moment we have any kind of resistance, we throw it into that baggage of residual impressions. Okay, we stop experiencing the present moment and we say, ouch, I don't like this present moment. So what I'm going to do is resist it. Now I'm not in the present moment. And now that I'm going to send it back there. That really hurt to get hit in the face. I'm going to send it back there. I don't like that. And now I'm out here trying to make sure that my present moment, I don't get hit in the face. Okay, so that's how it produces our future. Because when we resist something in the present moment, we throw it back there, and then our present moment is trying to not experience what we decided we didn't want, okay? And all the things we didn't want are sitting back here in these residual impressions. And what he's saying is we have to open up the door to all of our resistances, allow them to come up, feel them fully, and send them back to source. Okay, so that they get forgiven, so that they get put back into, wow, I don't need to fear the present moment in any way. When we do that, we're in the present moment and not trying to control it so that it fits our experience. We're just, hey God, whatever the present moment is, it is, right? And We can't control it anyways. But when we have residual impressions, then we start to control the present moment to try and not experience the residual impressions. And therefore, it creates experiences that actually make us experience these things, because what you resist persists. So the moment you say, I really don't want to feel sad, okay, now I'm going to control everybody out here so I don't feel sad. All the time I'm feeling, all I'm seeing is sadness, okay? I really don't like, ooh, ouch, I don't like to feel unworthy. Now I've got this belief, I'm unworthy, but I don't want to believe I'm unworthy. Now I'm out here trying to prove to everybody all the time, I'm really worthy, I'm really worthy, I'm really worthy, but sitting back there is a belief that I'm really not worthy. Sometime a long time ago, I decided I'm not worthy, then said, don't want to accept that, cast it off, but it's still operating. So now here I am trying to prove I'm worthy. That's our childhood, but that's also our past lives. So what we have to do then is open up this residual, the whole baggage, Pandora's box, as they say, open it up, and then we have to feel it. So for example, I'm unworthy. Okay, so this is a big one in my life. So early on, I couldn't even tell you when. Childhood, sometime early childhood, I decided something was wrong with me and I'm not worthy. Okay, put it in the baggage there. And then what happened was, I don't want to feel that way, of course, and I don't want to accept that as being true, but some part of me believed it was true. Okay, I've got a lot of reasoning. I could blame my dad. I could do a number of things around it. Doesn't matter, because I'm the one who decided to take that on and go, wow, let's try on the belief I'm unworthy. Okay, so now I spend a lot of time trying to prove to everybody how worthy I am so that I can believe it, but never believing it, because I've cast this I'm unworthy so far away that I can't even find it. It's in the reservoir of subliminal impressions. To get free of it, I have to turn around and open up and say, okay, I'm going to, and here's the gig. He says this, these variations are reduced or overcome through meditation. That's one way of saying it. And I would say they're reduced, and I wouldn't even say they're reduced. I would say they are, see, these are words that I don't like. So I'm going to break this down. He says, when these primal causes of suffering here exist in subtle yet potential forms, so they're back there in beliefs and past experiences, they are to be reduced and then destroyed. Okay? I hate the word destroyed, because that's not really what happens to them. I really like the image of when you put salt in water, it doesn't disappear. It just, what is it? Dissolves. Okay, so that's the word. It dissolves. So that's different than destroyed, So I want to dissolve these things. And the way they get dissolved is through meditation. But meditation means bring awareness to them. And for me, it's feel it fully. So if I can be conscious enough to say, oh my gosh, I've got this unworthy thing running, I'm going to bring it here into my present moment. I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to feel what it feels like to feel unworthy. Okay? I'm going to really open up to the experience of feeling unworthy. What does it feel like in my body when I feel unworthy? If I continue to feel unworthy for 10 minutes, how would it feel? For 10 years, how would it feel? For 10 lifetimes, how would it feel? I'm taking off any resistance to the experience of feeling unworthy. In feeling it, what happens is sometimes, but you have to let go of this being the purpose, sometimes it goes to the root of when we decide it. Sometimes we go down and we go like, oh my God, this goes back to my father, who had this thing, and I really felt something was wrong with me. I just wasn't a boy's boy. My brothers were great. Something was wrong with me. I played with trolls. I wanted a sewing machine. Something was wrong with me. I knew it. I knew he knew something was wrong with me, and he was trying to fix me. So that went into, okay, I'm unworthy, and I decided it. But I decided it, because other people, it's not my father's gig. Other people could have had the same father and felt love from that experience, had the same, my brothers had the same father. They didn't make up that choice. So why did I choose? It's me. I decided I'm unworthy. Then went, oops, that's so painful. Threw it back, threw it away, and then again, have a lifetime of trying to prove to myself, how worthy I am and others so that I could feel it. But, what needs to be felt is what's at the very core. So now we go, I'm going to feel unworthy. I'm open to the experience. As a conscious being, and that's where the meditation comes in. We have witness consciousness with us as we sit in the experience that we've resisted, that we have not wanted to be in, to feel everything in there fully. And when we do, sometimes they go to the roots of their cause, sometimes not, because sometimes too, they're in past lives. So Patanjali says, often some of our biggest samskaras have their roots in past life violent deaths. Okay? So I'm going to get back to that. Because I'll tell you like an experience that I had with that. But when you can then take on this experience of saying, I'm going to feel into that. I'm going to let myself fully become it. Then what happens is we get inside the samskara, we become it. And as we become it and feel it fully with consciousness and with no fear, and we get all of a sudden you get out to the edge where you're like, this is the experience of unworthiness. Cool. I'm safe. Cool. And then all of a sudden we pop out of it and look at it, and it's like a bubble. Oh, that's unworthiness. That's the experience of unworthiness. One of the infinite possibilities of things that I could feel, and now it's a bubble, and let's put it up on the shelf. No resistance. I could feel it when I want to. Sometimes life might make me feel it. And how fun, I have no resistance. Oh, here's unworthy, but now it's up there and I'm looking at it and I have the choice. Is this something I want to feel or not? When it's back there and I'm unconscious, the unconscious reservoir gets our best creative attention. Okay? We're out here trying to create our goals, but this other part of our prana and attention is going back here to resist this, and we're unconscious of it, and it creates. So we see it out here all the time in our movie, whatever we've got stashed back there. So the goal, of course, of yoga union is to come into the present moment, to hello Ram Dass, be here now, be here now. What are the things that keep us from being here now? It's only in the present moment that we're going to find, our union and our happiness. The only place where we will ever experience any of the things that we say we want is right now. And most of us aren't here. We're wanting to feel happy, wanting to feel worthy, so our present moment experience is one of wanting rather than right now, I experience happiness. Right now, I feel present and worthy and open-hearted right now. So that's this very cool process. I'm going to read it one more time. When these primal causes of suffering, this reservoir of subliminal impressions, exist in their subtle yet potential form, because they have this ability to create, they are to be reduced and then destroyed, and I would say dissolved or felt fully by the process of involution. So that's, again, get into it, feel it fully, become it, and then return it to their source. Oh my gosh, and then when we do, and suddenly we feel it fully, and then we pop out of it and go, oh, the bubble of unworthiness, then we go, bless you and me for having decided that piece of the universal experience was not okay, or was too big or too scary or bigger than me. Oh, bless you and forgive you, and bless you, Dad, and bless you, everybody. Wow, how funny that I decided that. And off it goes, boo, boo, boo. The bubble is gone. So, and then you return to the true self. These variations are to be reduced or overcome through meditation. So, for many years, my meditation process was like this. I sat down, related it to the breath. Inhale, and I envisioned a bucket going into the well of my feelings. Inhale, feel it fully. Feel it fully, feel it fully, feel it fully, feel it fully, feel it fully. Dump it out. I am not that. Inhale. Dig on in. What's there to feel? Feel it fully, feel it fully, feel it fully, feel it fully, feel it fully. I am not that. Inhale. Just that's the process of meditation, of emptying this reservoir of subliminal impressions. Now, there are people who have a belief that this is like only done by the highest of yogis, emptying the reservoir of subliminal impressions. That is not my experience. When we truly get on, and that's why I'm so grateful to Patanjali, because it's a technology. And once we actually know what we're doing and we get this map of our inner world and we start to know what we're doing, it's possible to empty the reservoir of subliminal impressions. It doesn't mean that they don't come up, but you handle them so quickly. It's like, oh, there's a thing disturbing my present moment. And you don't have to go searching for them because they come to you, like, so the way that they come and like so many of us in the spiritual personal growth world, we're always working on ourselves. And I think that's great. It's good to get tools. But the reality is that the best ways, I think, to work on ourselves is when we set a worthy goal, shit's going to come up. You don't have to work on yourself. Shit's going to come up. And when shit comes up, that's when you handle it. Okay? So you set a worthy goal. I'm going to become a vegetarian. I'm going to go to yoga 3 times a week. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to, whatever the goal is. And then we're like, well, not today. I'm going to have a Sunday. Oh, not, that's all the stuff. That's all of our self-sabotaging behavior that's coming from back there. And so it's in the present moment. These are the things that are sabotaging us.
So all we have to do is set a worthy goal.
Set a worthy goal. And you will have shit come up. What's in the way? And this is, I think, the difference for me. Like sometimes I'm like, what is the truly, if we were to describe, what's a truly spiritual person? I think a truly spiritual person is someone who realizes when they set a worthy goal that when stuff comes up, nothing's gone wrong. It's the answer to your prayer. That's what true spiritual work is. I'm set a worthy goal. Stuff has come up. It's here for one reason. I've prayed to go here. And so, this is going to come up for me to dissolve it, for me to integrate it, for me to move beyond it, for me to dismantle it, for me to, feel into its origins. How wonderful. That is the spiritual life. That's the fun part. And then Patanjali literally says, once we get this process down, we literally create a new mind, a whole new mind happens. And that has been my experience too. Because once we get that that's the process, not only that, we're welcoming everything. It's like, please bring it on, So one of my favorite quotes from A Course in Miracles is, God loves us so much that he won't leave one of our fears unturned. Okay? So that's great. That's the good news. I mean, that's what we want, is to have our fears removed. But here's the deal. When it's happening, because this world is this weird projection, it shows up out here and it's got a real name and it's got some money amounts to it and it's got consequences and it's got, and it's like, it's real, But that's what the curriculum is here. It's not really real. This is my curriculum for me to dismantle my fear. So bless it, get it, say, oh, I am going to learn from this. Thank you, God, for handing it to me in the name of you or you or you. I'm going to get it. It's my work. This is all about me. I'm going to dismantle this because I'd like to not, it doesn't have to be out of resistance, but I'd really like to not keep creating this, which doesn't mean that shit won't happen, because shit happens in life. But but when you really don't take the shit that happens in life personally, it's a whole different ballgame. That just doesn't stick. But when things stick, they're yours. And when they stick, it's worth going, let me unstick this thing. Let me find out what's at the origin here that is making this so utchy. Because I'd like to dismantle it. Because here's the thing, if there's past lives and future lives, he says, these create into our future lives. We carry these samskaras with us. Okay? So why do we carry the samskaras with us? If there's a curriculum, and I believe that there is, but I don't care, whether I'm right or wrong here, but if there's a curriculum that says the curriculum here is to get whole. The curriculum here is that we all find union, peace, yoga. The curriculum is that we, find our true self. If that's the curriculum, and I like to believe that that is the curriculum, what this says and what we went over last time was our true self is infinite, eternal, and whole. Okay? So if that's our true self, an infinite, eternal, whole being has nothing to fear. Okay? This reservoir of subliminal impressions back here is our baggage. It's our fears. It went there because we were afraid of, oh, that's too big, that's too much, that's too overwhelming, I can't handle this. So we throw it over there. Well, what do you mean you can't handle it? You're infinite, eternal, and whole. So the moment we say to something out there, I can't handle you, we've given away our power to it, and we said, you are more powerful than me. And it remains that way because we decided it's more powerful than us. It remains that way until we undecide and say, I'm no longer afraid of you.
Can it be also that resistance, that keep coming? Can it also be sometimes you don't have to feed into that because it's not even something that needs to be entertained?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're, what's the discernment? How do you discern when it's samskara, which is really coming from the lineage or coming, or that it is unhealthy for you, and then it's, you know what I mean?
Yes. So here's an easy test. Yeah. Can you easily and effortlessly take your attention off of it and place it where you'd like? Okay. If you can easily take your attention off of the experience that you're having that you would prefer not to have and place it on what you like, no problem. You chose. Oh, there's that thing again. Okay. You're in charge. If it grabs you, as I like to say, is it doing you or are you doing it? Okay. If you're doing it, you're doing it. Fun. I can feel unworthy whenever I want. And I have no problem when life sends me something where I'm like, oh, wow, I feel unworthy here for a moment. That's pretty funny. Wow. And now I'm going to take my attention off of that and say, hey, Danny, how are you? So glad to see you. Like so. But if I get hit and now I'm in it and I'm swirling and I'm down, then there's something to be felt. There's something to find. There's something to dissolve. There's something to dismantle. So again, set a worthy goal and your self-sabotaging behavior will come up. And anything that takes you out of the present moment, experiencing that thing that you want, is self-sabotaging behavior.
Yeah, but that's where it's like triggers.
It's totally triggers. Yeah.
You are affected, and if you distract and it's so quick though.
And the world will give you tons of triggers constantly. And then once you feel like you've handled it, the universe is going to give you some extra opportunities to make. Are we sure? Let's try. Are you sure? Okay. Here's another one just to make sure that you got it. It's like, okay, great. Arch, nope. You're going to have to go over here. Yep. You're going to sit with Rosemary and just taking Mary, just hang out there. You stay there, Archie. So isn't that fun?
It kind of is when you are watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the good news. So I want to tell you an experience. Tell me your name again. Tommy. Good to see you. So I want to tell a story about one that I feel, now I could be totally wrong about it, but it worked. And it's a weird story, but I'm going to tell it anyways. So because I know this technology, so I was in a workshop. It was called the Avatar Workshop. I'm going to try and make this story short, but it's actually hard to make a little short. So I took the Avatar Workshop by a man. It's basically a one-on-one workshop. It was 10 days long. It was great. and he was an avatar master and I was the student. And he told me about the course, and the course was amazing. And when I was done, he said, well, if you'd like to be an avatar master like me, you go to Avatar Master's course. And I was like, great. And he says, and then you get a license and you can teach the course. And okay. This guy was not so great, okay? And it was actually wonderful for me because he was not so great, and it was real proof that the content really worked, because I was like, the content's incredible and I know that I could present the content better than this guy. You know, there was no question. If this guy got his license, there's no question I'm getting my license. You know, I'm going, and, you know, I've got much more experience than him, and blah, blah, blah. So being who I am, I set up an avatar workshop, and I've already invited 20 people to a workshop that I'm about to do. I've got a workshop. I'm going to the master's program. I'm certainly getting my license, and I've set up a workshop shortly thereafter where 20 people are coming with their deposits in already. Okay, so off we go. I get to the master's program, and at the end of the master's program, they announce that they're no longer just giving out licenses to become avatar masters because the program was growing, but to a very rare few who will go through. Very rare few get their license the first time. Well, I was like, I'm going to be one of those rare few. I got 20 freaking people coming to my house. I have to be one of the few, right? So there's something at stake now, right? So I really got to do this. But here's the funny thing. The content of graduating is pure presence, okay? With nothing else going on. No desire, no resist, no, you know, nothing at stake, right? But I got a lot at stake, right? You know, so you know, you have to demonstrate this by two masters who have a good feel out, you know, and with no, they called it being in primary with no secondaries, okay, no other agendas. So literally the setup is I'm sitting in a chair. There's like 3 people here, and then there's the person who's being doing the exercise with the avatar master, or actually an avatar wizard, just to give you some of the things. So I'm waiting, and this person's there with the master saying to the student, you know, like do the sourceless, where you repeat these things and you just demonstrate pure presence with nothing else going on. Well, you're given a partner to just do it until you get to the thing. So I have a partner in front of me, and I am anywhere but present. I'm out of my body. I'm having like nearly a seizure. I mean, like anything. Like I'm just so not present. I'm freaking out. Like I rarely freak out. I'm totally freaking out. And so the process that you go through is to clear the secondaries, which is basically like you feel whatever comes up, feel it fully, and you know, get to the top of it, and then you send it on its way and you come back to being present, feel it fully. So the things that kept coming were just like huge. And what came was, at one point, I was in this experience and I was going, I can't handle this. I can't handle this. I can't handle this. And I closed my eyes and I was having this experience, and I went back to a past life experience. Whether it was true or not, it doesn't matter because it cleared, but this was what I experienced. I saw myself tied to a stake. There was another person tied to a stake and another person tied to a stake. And we were, you know, like you know, Europeans and Native American Indians were like with the first guy. They were cutting off his fingers, they were cutting off his ear, they were cutting off his genitals. They were just slowly torturing him. Then they were going to go on to the next person, and then they were going to go on to me. And my head was bludgeoned open, like my skull was cracked open and my brain was really hanging out. Okay. And I'm here having this experience and saying to myself, I can't handle this. I can't handle this. So I have this whole image come to me, and then I die. Okay, so apparently I did handle it, you know. But what happened was, after I felt that, it relieved. It was like, wow. And it was interesting that I was in this weird lineup sort of even physically. And then this image came and it brought this up. And just like Patanjali said, some of our deepest samskaras come from past life violent deaths. Now, if there's anything to past lives, we have all been the murderer, we've been the murderee, we've been the rapist, we've been the rapee, we've had many violent deaths, you know, like so we of all sides, and we've been drowned, we've been raped, we've been, you know, like you name it, it's happened to us, right? So they stick in us because we head out of the planet, you know, often saying things like, I can't handle this. That was my truth in that moment that I headed out with, and then it was sitting in my psyche, you know, at this moment. So what was cool was felt it fully, sent it on its way, and went to did my thing, did my sourceless great. That was great. But what they decided anyways was that they weren't giving, that no longer was anybody getting their masters, that what you had to do was now you had to then teach workshops, but you had to invite another master in. So it wasn't any problem. I just found a master that I liked who co-led the program with me. But it was a long story to just sort of give you an example of like, well, past life. Like that's one time where I could say I felt like it accessed a past life violent death where there was a stuck samskara that was keeping me out of the present moment. Just as an example. Any thoughts about or about this content? This whole, you know, that's three sutras. So Patanjali like packs it in, man. 3 freaking sutras, and he just lays out this process of how we discreate, is what I like to call it. How we discreate realities. You know, if you've got a reality going on that you would like to discreate, we can discreate them through feeling it fully, getting in, becoming it, and popping out of it, labeling it, sending it on its way. You know.
How is samskara? So samskara is like kind of memory, or how is karma related to samskara?
Great question. All of our samskaras together are our karma. Okay, so that's your karma. All your samskaras are individual karmas.
Isn't it infinite?
What?
Or samskara? Isn't it like a full wheel in the void and it's just infinite?
No, it's really possible to end it. Yeah, to clean it and clear it, and to become a clean mirror. Where you know, like. And we feel that in others when someone's speaking and they have no judgment and they're not there and there's no samskaras, you know, judging you. It's a clear mirror. It's of the true self. And we feel it also when people have all the static, you know, going on. You know, that is somebody who's got a lot of samskaras in there, a lot of judgments, a lot of confusion. And it's like, okay. And that confusion is creating. You know, it's creating their reality. It's creating our reality because we live in this mass consciousness that is a co-creation. You know, it's okay. But Arch, it's not happening. I know.
Is a saint like Maharaji and gurus that has elevated to different? Are they? Not are they? But is it like something connected to? They have.
We would hope that, again, the experience is such that Maharaji, you know, we of course project onto him that he was a clean, clear mirror, that he was just in the present moment, you know, that he was an avatar, okay? And as I like to say about avatars is all avatars have one message. You're infinite, eternal, and whole. That's it. Your sins are forgiven. You know, there's, you know, nothing you need to do. Hey, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You stay here. Okay, yep. Stay there. Stay, Arch. Stay. So that's the message. We're infinite, eternal, and whole. The only thing with an avatar is like avatars go, I remember, you've forgotten. And that's the curriculum. That's why we're here. We're in a place of forgetting. We're in a place that demonstrates every fear that we have. That's what this mass consciousness is. Here's all your fears. You know, the world's gonna end. We're all gonna die. Everything's going to shit. It's all gonna happen. That's always been the case. Always been the case. It's the case today. It was the case 100 years ago. It's the case 1,000 years ago. It's not, you know, it's always the case. That is what we're here for. And I think it's interesting, this whole thing, like who wouldn't say, you know, when we raise our hands, who wants peace, world peace? Okay, we all want world peace. How many people would say they're working towards world peace? Okay, that's good. Mark is like, maybe it's good. And I'd say, give up working for world peace. Maybe that's not the curriculum at all. It's not about creating a peaceful world out here. It's about creating a peaceful world in here. This does not, you can be at peace regardless of what's going on out here. That is the curriculum. And then here's the catch-22. If we want to make a peaceful world, we first have to be peaceful ourselves. It is not helpful to be out there fighting for peace, which is such an oxymoron, you know, fighting for peace, you know, when we ourselves are not at peace. It's like, I'll be peaceful if you just get it together. You know, if you were peaceful, then I'd be happy. You know, it's like a parent who says, you know, every parent would say, I just want my kids to be happy. But every kid says to their parents, you, and I'm supposed to grow up and be like you and have a marriage like yours. And I think, you know, so it's like, wait, you know, you got to be a happy parent going like, you know, I'd like you to be happy, and you got to model, you know, being it, you know. So the same thing, you know, the curriculum here is, it's all, this is the curriculum. Be at peace. And nothing needs to change outside of us. So it's not about making external changes. It's about making these internal changes. Interestingly enough, when we do, the external changes. Our experience of the external completely vibes up with it. I just saw this thing on Instagram, which is hardly profound, but he was a guy who teaches manifestation and, you know, laws of attraction and synchronicity. He said, it's really simple. He's like, I'll just get it down to this. He's like, if you're crabby and in a bad mood, that's what you're attracting. If you're in a good mood, that's what you're attracting. It's really simple. So like, just put a check in there. Like, what kind of mood are you in? Because that vibration is attracting that. So that's our personal work in a nutshell, you know, is to go, what's going on in here is creating and attracting what's going on outside.
You know, I've had this delicious experience in life, and I imagine everyone in this room has had it at times, an experience that I call being seen. Many people have spoken of Ram Dass and being in his presence as a great example of being seen by another person. And so it relates to what you're saying. You know, I wanted to bring this into the conversation. But for me, I get that being seen, and then the way I feel being seen is infinite, eternal, and whole, or a taste of that.
Love that.
And it's so beautiful to have people or dogs or whoever who see us. I mean, that we feel seen by.
Yes. Well, and that is the power of a true guru, a true teacher. And it's not necessarily, you know, in that format per se, but within the presence of someone who holds that space, we can make fast advances in our personal spiritual growth, because it goes beyond words. Okay, there's a transmission. It really gets down to a transmission. Okay, so for example, before I moved into Kripalu, I had read and believed, you know, in meditation. I read books about meditation. Meditation is good. It causes these effects, so I'm going to meditate. So I meditated every day, 20 minutes at 7 a.m. I sat in a wood chair right by my kitchen window every day for 20 minutes, put on the timer, you know, meditated. Not many people could say that they meditated. I did this for years, okay? So Great. I meditated for years. Okay. Here's what my meditations were like. Sat down at 7 o'clock. Oh my gosh, today it's Thursday. Gosh, when I get up from here, I've got to go shopping. And when I go shopping, I'm going to get a bologna, Swiss cheese. I really need to think about lunch. What am I doing this week? What other food do I need? I made lists. That's what I did. I made lists. And then when there, what am I teaching today? Oh my God, I'm going to school and thing, curriculum. Yeah, I got to tell that person that and this and that. Made lists. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Got that. You know, I got the whole day. And then I got up from that 20 minutes of meditation and I felt great. Real clear about the day, had worked out so many things, was off on the running, and it was really productive. And I was like, so great, people should meditate because it really just clears things up. You get really clear when you sit and meditate. So that's what I thought meditation was. And I did it for years. Then I moved into Kripalu. And Yogi Desai was sitting up there. The first morning, we sit down for 4 hours of meditation, you know, so... And I looked at him and I was like, he's not making a lunch list. Like nothing was going on over there. Nothing. Like nothing. Nothing, you know? And it was like, whoa. And it was like tuning forks. It was like, okay, so wow, now I'm in this room of, you know, living in an ashram with a couple hundred people. We sat down in meditation. It was like something else is happening here. Okay. So the roadmap was clearer than if I was just sitting alone. I'd read my books, but transmission is a whole different ballgame. You know, so, and that is why someone like Ram Dass, and of course I know all of these people, Ram Dass, Krishna Das, Bhagwan Das, Sharon Salzberg, these were all people who, you know, were with Maharaji. You know, they all came to Kripalu. I know them all pretty. They have a vibe, okay? They have a vibe. It's just that they have a vibe. Something happened to them. They have a vibe. Each of them is a teacher in their own right. They have a vibe, okay? And that was the transmission. There is this weird thing about a lineage, you know, like it's like, okay. And the same thing is true at Kripalu. There is a lineage. The people who are with Swami Kripalu have a vibe because he had a vibe. You know, it's a frequency. And so, you know, it's not necessary, but it sure is helpful. You know, it sure can change things. And it's not, doesn't have to come in an Indian format. You know, it can come anywhere. You know, it can come from anyone. You know, so it doesn't have to be, you know, you're finding a guru from India. You know, and the misnomer was in the 60s and 70s that anybody who came from India was the guru. You know, and then we did that. Like, you know, many wonderful Indian yoga teachers came here and got a lot of, you know, and I'm sure you've seen that movie about the guy who decides, Kumar. Yeah, it's worth watching. Yeah, he's just an Indian guy who suddenly decides that he's gonna try out this guru thing and see what happens, and man does the loving stares and people devote their thing and they're like sitting in the presence, getting the vibe, you know, so, you know.
I have a question. It's kind of related to the first question she asked. So it's like when something comes up and should you put energy into it or put it away? So I don't want to take too much time putting things into detail, but I basically had something that happened with a friend last year. And it was like an obsession in my mind because he wouldn't have a conversation with me. So it was just like, you know, 6 months where I was not able to have a conversation. And so all these things would play out in my head. And those grooves in my brain were really deep. And then so I eventually like got to a point where I'm just like, okay, I don't need to put any more energy into that. So it's like, I feel like, you know, I'm not supposed to be putting energy into it. But I'm also supposed to feel it fully at the same time when it comes up. So like nowadays it'll come up maybe like once or twice a day and I'll start thinking about it. But then I'm like, oh, nope, don't put energy into it. So yeah, can you relate that to what you're
Okay, so that's a great example, and we can all relate. I mean, many of us have, you know, those wonderful thoughts that are persistent and come in. So it's like, okay. And there's some Zen koan, and I always remember the punchline of the Zen koan. It's like, then walk it out. You know, it's like, then walk it out the door. Walk your thoughts out the door. Just to, you know, come to the door, your goodbye, you know. So that's one way, but then they keep showing up. So if they keep showing up, it's like, what here do I need to get? What's going on here that's not about my friend? Okay. What is this that is so not about my friend that it keeps coming back? Do I feel like I did something wrong? Let me feel into that. And I really don't like feeling like I did something wrong. Do I feel like I hurt that person? And I really don't feel like I like feeling like I hurt that person. Am I not okay with conflict? Let me feel into what it feels like to be in conflict. And so there's something in there to feel. And when those things get cleared, it's like, hey, I've done what I can do. I've spoken to, I've laid out, the ball's in his court or her court or whatever. And ball's in their court. I send you love. Jai Bhagwan, life will be done, Lord. I'm available. And so you make you can't speak to the friend, but you make the communication. You speak to them through the ethers and say, I've done my part. I love you, bless you. And now you're free. And if ever you choose, my heart is open and I'm ready. But your samskaras are cleared in it. Okay. But there's lots in there to feel if it keeps coming back. And it's worth looking into if it keeps coming back. Because there's, I've just made up a few, but, there's all these different angles to feel into. And then again, when you get into it, it's like, okay, conflict. I really don't like conflict. I'm not okay until this finds resolution. Where does this come from? Okay. So I'm going to tell you another story, okay, about this. So this is the way that it relates in real world time. So I was a body worker, a number of other things, but I always had this portion of my time that I liked to do something else in regards to making money. So I really wanted to get into real estate. I had the money. I was a member of what I called the Woulda Shoulda Club. I would see properties in Chicago and be like, God, I looked at that 6 months ago and I knew that neighborhood was popping and I could have gotten that house for $200,000 and now it's selling for $400,000. I could have made $200,000, like always doing that. I had a really good eye, really knew I could do it, but I just wasn't able to pull the trigger. I had a friend who was a real estate agent and I was driving her nuts because we looked at houses and I would get so close and then I'd pull out and something, So finally one day I realized there is something here. There's like some samskara here that is self-sabotaging that I'm not able to access. Because everything that I know up here, and I've got my worthy goal set, right? Everything that I know is moving towards the worthy goal. And somehow I can't grab a hold of how I'm sabotaging it. So I said to myself, clearly I don't have enough what I call witness consciousness, enough of my true self to sit and watch this situation. It's bigger than me. And I don't have enough love and self-awareness to sit in it alone. So I called a friend. And my friend's name was Audrey. And I was like, Audrey and I had a really loving, wonderful relationship, and I knew her as a really solid, she knew this process also. So I was like, Audrey, it was a Tuesday. I was like, would you come over? I've got this issue. And of course, she knew me in my life, and she knew the issue even, but she was like, absolutely. So literally, we come into my office. We're sitting in a chair, like knees to knee, and there's nothing more than, I tell her about the situation. I'm not able to access why I'm not manifesting this. And it's like, okay, here we go. You're going to feel. And she held the space of witness consciousness, non-judgmental, loving, compassionate awareness. Okay. Which that's all she did. I closed my eyes, sat down and started to feel. And there's all the story that I had and I'm in the story and I'd go down here. And then I asked myself this question, what in here do I not want to feel? Let me open some of those doors where it's like, I don't really want to open that one. Let me go to those doors. So I just started feeling around and I'd go down places and not much would happen and not much. And I felt like I was still just in my head. And then all of a sudden I got into this space and I was like, this feels like it's about my dad. I was like, okay, my dad again, here I am like, okay, here it's like, and that just rang, it's like, okay, and then all of a sudden, literally, it felt like I got down into my belly it felt like a trap door opened, and I fell through the trap. And suddenly I was in this experience of feeling like I'm a failure. Like just feeling like I am a failure. I am a failure. Not only that, it was I'm a failure as a man. I am a failure as a man. And I just allowed myself to feel that. And I cried. It was in my cells. It came out. And I allowed myself to be in the experience of I'm a failure as a man. And as I felt it, then the realizations come. So it's interesting. You can't exit from the mind. When you feel it, then you get the realizations. Okay, so I'm feeling it. And as I'm feeling it, I'm having these realizations that, yes, it's true. My dad, really, I was not a boy's boy. I felt something was wrong with me as a man, and it was like, I'm not cutting it. My brother could throw a bat through the neighbor's windows and my dad would be like, oh, he's a boy, and like, it was so great. And, again, I wanted a sewing machine. And it was like, you are not having a sewing machine. You're got a football. I'd be like, fuck the football, so it was just like what I want is not okay. Something's wrong with me. So it's just like, I'm a failure. And I started to have all these realizations about proof about how I'm a failure as a man. And then it was, as I felt it, it was like, how does that relate to this? It was really interesting. And as I felt it, I realized like this piece in my world at this point in my life, my parents would be like, oh, our first son, well, he's a university professor. Our second son, well, he's an engineer. Our third son, we're not really sure what he does. He teaches yoga, and we're not even sure, like who comes to these classes and how does that happen? And it was not something they were proud to tell, their friends, like what, about who I was. So again, I'm feeling like I'm a failure. But I realized that if I owned apartment buildings and I was rehabbing houses, that this would be something that my dad would be glad to say that that's something that I do, okay? And that's cool, but if I failed, it would put a nail in the coffin. It would be the proof you're a fucking failure as a man. Why did you even fucking try? Boom, nail in the coffin. So it's interesting. Rather than try, I'd rather just, I'd get so close and blame, so that, blame the inspector, blame the something. Oh, the property's not right. But again, just going like, what? I knew, and look. So anyways, that was a Tuesday afternoon, okay? Tuesday night, my real estate agent calls me and says, I have the perfect house for you going on the market tomorrow. Come see it tonight. This will not last long. Tuesday night we went. Tuesday morning I signed a contract. 2 weeks later I had the house flipped and rehabbed and rented, and it started a wonderful 20-year career of buying houses, rehabbing them, and renting them and stuff like that. So, but that's an example of going like, wow, these samskaras back here, these hidden residual subliminal impressions create experiences in our life, and they create them in our future lives if we don't handle them. And the way to handle them, what Patanjali is saying, is go in there through the process of feeling them fully, meditating on them, with them, loving them, getting to know them, blessing them, sending them back into the universe. Guess what? I have no problem feeling like a failure as a man, which happens to me when life happens that way. And I have no problem feeling it now. Sometimes I fail, and it doesn't mean anything about my masculinity at this point. But there was a time when it did. And there was a time then when I also realized how much I was out there trying to prove to people how I'm not a failure, all the while actually believing I was, but unconscious of it, unconscious of it, and not appearing that way to others or even to myself in what I knew, but all back there. So it's pretty incredible, and this is again the process of the spiritual lifestyle, is bring it on, bring it on. I'm here to dismantle all of my fears. God loves us so much, he will not leave one of our fears unturned. Wow. So again, when that happens, when your fears show up, nothing's gone wrong. Your prayers are being answered. And guess what happens? When you feel that way about them, they dismantle much quicker. So that's where that new mind comes out that Patanjali was talking about. You literally create a new identity that starts to crave it. I love this personal growth thing. I love being in the present moment and setting worthy goals and having shit come up so that I can clear it. That's what it's all about. And every time I clear, I get more. I get not more shit. I get more abundance, more clarity, more freedom, more ability to choose. I'm less controlled by those things doing me, and I get to choose me doing it. And we're looking for freedom. We're looking to be free. Freedom is about choosing. When those are doing us, we do not choose. So that's and that was in 3 sutras. So
So can I ask a quick question?
no. But you can ask a long question. You think I'll give you a quick answer?
I forgot.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so
it is
I think I know samskara and karma, and you kind of asked the question, and they're kind of together. And so, like, what are your thoughts about? Because I'm familiar with that, and I have a wisdom teacher that I work with past traumas and same idea of like, clearing it.
Mm-hmm.
Physical pain being the trauma. So my example is
Physical pain is amazing.
I'm going to take care of my body because of my age, and so I'm going to start Ashtanga yoga. And so I start Ashtanga yoga, and I feel amazing for 6 weeks. I was doing it 3 days a week. I was doing that when I left Hanuman Maui. And then my spine goes out, which is an injury that I've had, but like my spine goes out, the worst it's ever gone out. I couldn't walk 12 days. It was debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stopped doing Ashtanga. So then I just sit with that. And like I have this desire, like I just have this knowing that there's something about Ashtanga that is for me. And so like I just want to do this yoga that I felt really good when I started doing it. So then, I'm doing it again because I'm in person. Like Kyle said, no more, we can't work with you if you're not here in person, which I appreciated. And so I didn't do any yoga. So I come back and like I haven't had any awful back, but because it seems like Kyle mentioned something about samskara when I have that pain, and I'm like, I'm scared to do that because what if it hurts again or pain? How is that related, like the physical with the karma and samskara?
Okay, such a great question. I mean, and all of us have a body. Okay, so our relationship with our body is such an incredible teaching. Okay, and there's not a single person on the planet who doesn't have an antagonistic relationship with their body in some way. Even those who have a perfect body, they still wish their breasts were bigger, their hair were blonder, their nose were a little tinier. Everybody's got something. It's like, okay. And let alone, a lot bigger stuff, As we get older, eventually you start to make peace with your body, which is when it starts to fall down and break apart. But at this point, it's like, gosh, I've been at war with my body. It's never been enough the whole time. Can I finally just go enough and let me, treat this animal with some kindness, But pain through the physical body is an incredible teacher, okay? An incredible teacher. And, it's an incredible teacher. That's really where I would like to stay. And we are forced to inquire into it. Forced. It's the showstopper. It's often the beginning of people's personal spiritual journeys. Very often people are not awake until, oh, then they got cancer and they're facing their mortality and suddenly they start on a spiritual journey. Or, oh, I'm an alcoholic and suddenly they start on a personal journey. It often involves a body slap at such a big level that we have to wake up our other part, okay? So Course in Miracles has many, statements that stay in my head. And one of them is, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. So that's an interesting relationship with the body also, okay? So it's like, wow, but I have a body, but I'm not a body, okay? And then Course in Miracles said this statement when I got a hold of Course in Miracles, I was 15. So the first time I read this, I had one thought about it, and now I feel very differently about it. The first time I read it, it said this: all sickness is a form of separation from God. Okay? So I thought, simple. And I was young and healthy. I'm 16, right? I have no pain, right? So I'm like, oh, she got cancer. It's because she, separated herself from God. She was angry with her mother. It shows up in her breast. Oh, he got in a car crash. It was because he was separated from God. Like that there was somehow this thing that's like, no. All sickness is separation from God. That's it. Someone could be perfectly healthy and totally separated from God. I have been with people who are dying of cancer in an absolute union. They're not sick. That person is. Sickness is separation from God. What's going on here has nothing to do with sickness, okay? Which is a tough one to get. But then what's interesting is when we really get that, it sets us up for being miracle ready. Because everybody wants a miracle. Like if I got cancer, I'd be like, well, first place, actually, if I got cancer, miracle readiness is this. I'm ready. I'm ready. Like if this is the moment and God, I have handed over to God. If I get cancer and God wants to take me, I will be done. I'm really so happy. I'm like, take me. Okay. And if God wants to keep me here, no problem. Keep me here. I'm here forever. I'm with God forever. Like I'm not going anywhere forever. So whatever changes need to be made, thy will be done. I don't really care. That leaves me open to miracle ready. More than if I'm here going, I don't want to die. I need a miracle. I don't want to die. I need a miracle. That's attachment, like to be in a miracle ready state and to be not sick is like, I'm whole. Thy will be done. I am whole, whether I come, go, stay, watch the body deteriorate. I had a dear friend, a very close friend, sister who lived at Kripalu with me. And this is just the weirdest thing. So we taught a 10-day program together for many years on being a transformational teacher, the tools of being a transformational teacher. And in this workshop that we taught together, I led an experience where I would take people through their death, okay, through a mock death, so that people could feel a lot of different things. It's a fun exercise, So it's just like, here's the deal. I'm telling you about the exercise where I'm going to take you through a mock death. It's real simple. I'm going to lead you through a little guided meditation that says you're at this workshop, this one, and you go home and you have a set up appointment with your doctor and you go to the doctor and he does a few tests and he calls you back in and basically lets you know that you have a rare terminal cancer and you've got 2 weeks to live. Okay, it's hokey. It's so just suspend reality. That's going to be the meditation. I'm going to guide you through it and allow yourself to feel anything in there that's, as I question. So I'd lead them through that meditation. Then we'd have them do that. Then I'd be like, okay, so you get this news. You're walking out of the doctor's office. Who do you call? Do you tell people? Do you not tell people? Who's in your world? You have kids, you have, like it brings up a lot for people. I have no one. There's no one I want to call. Oh my God, I have I'm not going to tell my kids. I mean, there's lots that comes up in just thinking about this and walking yourself through it, right? Then I'd have them, okay, you're going to plan your funeral. Do you want one? Do you want to be buried? You think, okay, little funeral planning time. Write your epitaph. What do you want on your tombstone? What do you want people to What do you want to say about you? These are all really wonderful thoughts. Then literally we'd bury them and put sheets over their head, which was a lot of fun. And then they'd have a whole experience of dying, leaving. I'd lead them through a guided meditation, and they'd go to heaven, and meet, their angels. They'd get some guidance from their angels, and then their angel would say, and guess what? It's not your time. So they'd have a near-death experience, and boom, they'd be back in their body, and we'd come back into the thing. But it'd be so profound for many, many people. Now, some people closed up, couldn't feel a thing, weren't going there, absolutely not. It brought up trauma, it brought up the past mother's death, this, that, not going to feel, not happening, nope, did not like the exercise. Other people sobbing, feeling their mother's death, feeling their own death, feeling the thing, feeling the loss of their kids, reevaluating who they are and how they have, what their life is about. So, fascinating. But these are just providing experiences to create great feels, feel what's there. There's some scars there. Are you willing to feel them? That was a sidestep. So Vidya, my friend, says to me, I've never done this exercise. It's an exercise I led, but she was always going around helping people. She's like, I'd like to do it this time. I'm like, no problem, but you do the exercises, and our assistants will take care of the other part. So she does the exercise. So that's that. We are leading, besides this program, Vidya and I would lead a year-long program where we took 12 people for a year through these processes and many other things. And the 12 people would get very, very close. So we've interviewed these people in September. We had 81 people. We get it down to 12 people. We've got our 12 people chosen. She does this in a December workshop. She goes home and she gets diagnosed from her doctor with terminal cancer, angiosarcoma, which is a rare heart cancer that they call dead man's cancer. It's because mostly people just die of it. They never even know that people have it unless they get autopsied, because it's a cancer of the heart that's so fast growing, and then it attacks the heart, and the heart just blows up. So they literally say to her, pack your bags. No one has lived longer than 8 weeks if they got diagnosed. So no one has lived longer. Well, this is December, right before Christmas, and January 1st, we start a year-long program together. And she gets diagnosed that she's going to die. And I say, Vidya, oh my God, we got to notify these 12 students. And she says, no, we're not going to tell them. I said, Vidya, it's a program on authenticity. We're telling them, and, they got to know that they're going to be stuck with me, if they signed up for you, this is, so we told everybody. One person opted out, which was fine. A new person came in, which was great. And we started the program. She lived for 6.5 years, okay?
Oh, wow.
Which is the longest that anyone has lived with this, anyone documented. So now she's the one person, when somebody gets an angiosarcoma, they're like, there was this one woman, who lived for 6.5 years. And she swears that it was because of this group, because the 12 of us, the 14 of us stayed together. And it was like, we just had this commitment. This group will continue until she passes. But she said this, I will be made as white as snow. I am using this to be made as white as snow. And I was like, wow, she's going to use, because I had this thing, I would never want cancer. And then I watched her deteriorate, and I watched her have to conserve her energy and her prana at such subtle levels that everything, by the end, she was a skeleton. And she'd sit at the table, and to get her fork was, a thing. And she insisted on doing it. And, but every thought, every vibration in her field, every person that she allowed in or not, she had to conserve the subtlest of subtlest energies as she did this experiment. And watching her and being with her was freaking amazing. She sucked everything out of that experience of who am I in relationship to me, her and her body, me and body, that she could. She was not her body. And I witnessed her be not sick the whole time. She was sick. I watched her take that on I'm going to learn everything that I can from this. And she did. and was amazing. I mean, she was an incredible, incredible teacher. So, yeah. So I just want to say, in regards to your back, like we can, as spiritual people, we do lots of things like, oh, it's my karma, it's my this, it's my that. Oh, I'm having trouble supporting myself. Great. And maybe you just have a herniated disc.
Oh, I do have to.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
So you need to know anatomically what to do to support your herniated disc. And I would say this, Ashtanga yoga is not great. The forward folds and the jumps are not great. So, but that's a learning that you have to do. I mean, I understand. I've had, you name it, I've walked around and had pretty much every injury that you can imagine, and they're really wonderful challenges. So, but you got to be curious about it, really curious about it, and go, okay, back, I'm listening. I want to get everything you want to tell me. I'm listening. What are you telling me to do? Oh, you're asking me to slow down. Oh, you're asking me to stand up straight. Oh, you're asking me to not lift heavy things. Oh, you're asking me to really pay attention. Oh, you're asking me to move slower. Oh, I'm listening. Okay. All right, gang, that is it. Any other things that we have to say before we move on? Archie, huh? Like, that's it? That's the...
fascinating, the attachment of the physical body, of that fear of dying because of the unknown of what to return to,
Mm-hmm.
That's what's really, you know what I mean? To go back and, like the Bhagavad Gita, right? The chain of aging,
Mm-hmm.
the baby to, and then the vegetating and the earth and then recycling coming back. So it's like a mystery, not really understanding or trusting. It's like almost